Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs!
And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, Thursday, February 6th. We are live, 4 minutes past 10 p.m. Eastern. I hope everyone is doing well. Unfortunately, the Montreal Canadiens are not. They have lost 6 of their last 7 games. What is going wrong with the Montreal Canadiens? We're going to try and dissect that with Brian Wilde of Global TV Montreal and Simon the Snake Boisvert, who you can hear on my radio show, Le Forum, on BPM Sports on Wednesdays at around 11 a.m. And he also co-hosts his own podcast en français called Processus with Mathias Brunet on the Commission Athletic Network. We're going to get to them in just a couple of minutes. There were a lot of games in the National Hockey League last night that involved teams in the Eastern Conference that the Montreal Canadiens are battling for a playoff spot with. Ottawa was in action. They took on the Tampa Bay Lightning. The New Jersey Devils were in action. They took on the Vegas Golden Knights. Washington was in action. They took on Philadelphia. Carolina was in action. They took on Minnesota. Columbus was in action. They took on Utah. We're going to get to all those results a little bit later, but not before I talk to you about Playground. They're giving away over $120,000 in cash prizes this February at their cash game poker table, 7 days a week, 5 nights a week. Go and play at any time from 9:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. or enjoy the late night games from 9:30 p.m. to 2 a.m. for a chance to win payouts every 30 minutes. Get in on the action at Playground. Visit playground.ca for details. Also, Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. They are driven to be different. Then Bittt, Tibi, who launched their new Ultra Lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for chilly winter days. Only 90 calories. Only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and ultra refreshing. Without further ado, let me bring them in. Brian Wilde and Simon the Snake Boisvert.
Dun, dun, dun.
What's going on, Snake?
Dun, dun, dun.
Brian,
Hi, guys.
how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Brian's got a great smile on his face, a smile that I haven't seen in quite some time. I have a feeling he had a great night.
No, I was watching television.
Good.
Watching
you know
Prime
what?
Target. Good show on Apple.
You know what? I was watching a series on Netflix earlier, going back and forth and trying to watch some of the games and see what was going on. So it was a little bit of an interruption, but my wife and I are watching Fake Profile. So I don't know if you've watched that. I think it's called Falso Profil. I think it's a Spanish series that was translated into English, but it's a pretty interesting watch. But I would imagine that it sounds a lot better in Spanish than it does in English. But anyway, I digress. All right, okay. Gentlemen, the Canadiens have lost 6 of their last 7 games. And I don't know about you guys, but as you can see, when I'm a little bit nervous, I eat. When I'm a little bit stressed, I eat. And when they go on a winning streak and I'm happy, I also eat. So with that said, I want to welcome
Food
to the Sick Podcast, not just food, guys, pastries. There's an Italian pastry called a bombolone, which has the texture of a donut. So this is an Italian style donut, which means it tastes a lot better than North American donuts. All right. So it's got the texture of a donut. And these bombolones are filled with either dulce de leche or Nutella or pistachio or ricotta. They have so many different fillings. They're absolutely amazing. You can get them fresh. They actually even sell them frozen in Metro grocery stores throughout the province of Quebec. And because the Super Bowl is this weekend, take a look at that. We got ourselves a little football here. And because it's Valentine's Day the week after, we have ourselves a heart with some strawberry filling. I would imagine it's kind of like a strawberry. It's fantastic. And these bombolonis are courtesy of Bomboloni Boss. So we welcome Bomboloni Boss to the program, bomboloniboss.com. And of course, the Super Bowl Bomboloni are now available for pre-order. A salted caramel chocolate glazed football shaped Bomboloni, only available February 9. Must order between now and February 8 before 5 p.m. Delivery or pickup option in Saint Laurent. And once again, let me bring up their Instagram. So like that, you can add them on Instagram. That's what their Instagram handle looks like. It's Bomboloni Boss. And once again, their website is bomboloniboss.com. So we thank them very much. I'm going to indulge in those throughout the podcast. And now we'll get to the Montreal Canadiens. Guys, there's a lot to talk about, but we all know that a big part of the Canadiens' success is their number one line. It's a team that, because of a lack of depth, relies a lot on the Suzuki line, and in particular on Suzuki and Caulfield. If we can bring up their stats in the last couple of games here, the Habs' first line during their current losing skid, says Habs on Reddit, 1 win, 4 losses. Nick Suzuki, 0 goals and 2 assists in 5 games. Cole Caulfield, 1 goal and 2 assists in 5 games. Juraj Slafkovsky, 1 goal and 0 assists in 5 games. Guys, they're all slumping. But out of all 3, if you had to choose one, Brian, that you're most concerned about, who would it be and why?
Well, you picked the word concerned, so that would naturally be Slafkovsky because he hasn't really proven himself as much as the other guys over a large sample. You could pick another adjective in there, and I might have answered differently, but the word concerned, disappointed then would probably be Suzuki because he's the guy that always has to carry the load and usually pulls that off with great aplomb, usually against the top centers in the league where he manages often to have a +1 against some of the best centers. And that hasn't happened recently either. So concerned Slafkovsky, disappointed Suzuki. But overall, yeah, the line is not doing what is expected of them. But the pressure over a whole season to carry the team, it's incredible what they're asked to do. They get no support at all. Like, for example, I looked at all the depth charts of the entire league, and I looked at all 32 teams, Tony. And what I did is I looked at where the lines were ranked. The first line, the Suzuki line, among all first lines in the league is ranked 13th. The fourth line is actually tied for first in goals scored with Carolina. The third line is mid-tier as well, but the second line is 25th. So we know where the problem is.
Snake?
Yeah, look, I think it's normal for any line to have a bad sequence, just 5 games out of 82. But if you look at the global picture, I do agree with Brian that these guys are going to need help. And it's really the middle of the lineup that I think is much weaker than the average middle of the lineup in the league. And, you know, there's a reason why the Habs are 6 points away from the playoffs. That being said, I think Demidov coming in next year is going to really, really help Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slafkovsky to not feel that pressure to always be producing. And who knows, maybe Demidov will be playing with one or two of these guys next year. We don't know what the lines are going to be. Michael Hage eventually in a couple of years, I think will help. So there's help on the way. But for now, yeah, and Slafkovsky, next year is going to be his 4th season. I see certain things in his game that has me concerned. But still only 20. Most of the guys from the 2022 draft haven't panned out yet. But next year is the 4th season. I think it's going to be a crucial one.
I put together some stats, things that caught my attention, and Slafkovsky's there, 51 games, 70 shots. Guys, 51 games, 70 shots. I mean,
now, and may I add there that that's some research that I also did, Tony, not this year, but over the years. You need to be, for success in the NHL, big success, 30 goal scorer, 40 goal scorer, you have to have 4 shots a game. Not 1, 4.
Yeah. Let's bring down this list. We'll bring it back up after when we talk about some of the other guys that are on that list. But I take a look at Juraj Slafkovsky, and you're right. We have to be prudent here, right? Because I'm already hearing people talking about trading him and this and that and whatever and all that. We have to relax here, okay? We have to relax. But it doesn't mean that we can't be concerned because I'm telling everyone to relax. For me, there are some things that are a little bit troubling. I take a look at his lack of consistency and his body language at times. And it leads me to one of 2 conclusions. Either he is, for the most part, a second half player, or he is a guy that became a rock star very quickly in Montreal and is navigating all that comes with it and is trying to find himself. And there are some bumps along the road, and he's going to stumble a couple of times until he figures it all out. I would have given Slafkovsky a long-term deal because that's just the way it is nowadays in the National Hockey League. When you identify who you think your horses are going to be going forward, you give them long-term deals and you lock them up. That's the trend. So I would have done it. But if indeed the 8-year contract at $7.6 million got to him and he's lost a little bit of his hunger, because only he knows if he has, that would be very concerning because when he was drafted first overall, there were character tests that were done. And the Canadiens brass deemed him to be the number 1 pick for several reasons, one of which was because he was the big body. The other one was because he was the power forward. The other one was because of the way he played at the Olympics. The other one was the way he played at the World Championships. And the other one was because he'll do well in Montreal because he's already been able to carry the pressure of a nation of 5 million plus on his shoulders, and he's done well, so he'll have no problem in Montreal. So once again, guys, only he knows if the contract has taken away some of his hunger, desire, and consistency. But if it has, that's concerning, guys.
But Tony and Brian, aren't there things in his game that you're a little bit concerned about? Because I am.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
You know, aside from the intensity or whatever, or the psychology and just the game itself. When you look at his, what do you think, Brian?
I'm totally in agreement with you. By halfway through season 3, you're looking for the release on his shot to be a lot faster than it is. It's a very slow release, and that is successful at some levels. But at the NHL, somebody's going to get a stick on the release when it's that slow. A lot of cross ice passes that are not even fed onto tapes, but behind guys or ahead guys, which is fundamental hockey that he struggles with at times. There's some areas that are improving. He's going to the net better than he did before. He's a pretty good passer in the offensive zone occasion when he's close to the net. He understands he's got a big body and has to screen. I think that his puck battling is get a little bit better, a little bit of less of a longer stick and a little more engagement with the body. So there are some holes and there are some things that he's improving on. And if he can keep improving and fill those holes a little bit, then we will look back and say he was just 20. But I'd like him to be better. I really think he should be better.
He tries to do fancy plays, guys, and he's not that player. And as a matter of fact, Kent Hughes admitted to Snake Boisvert and Mathias Brunet. They had a chance to sit down with him.
When was this?
At the Complexe Sportif Sienne a couple of weeks ago in Brassard.
Okay,
Brian,
good.
I'm happy that you're on because we're telling you about it because it actually will be on YouTube tomorrow. Isn't that right, Snake?
Yeah, tomorrow morning. Yeah.
Okay, fill us in.
How much time? How much time did he give you?
About 52 minutes.
50?
Wow.
2 minutes?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing. Okay, so without giving away the entire interview, because obviously they'd love to get their share of views tomorrow.
Yeah.
Snake, if I heard correctly, Kent Hughes admitted to you guys, to you and Matthias, that it was indeed him who pulled Slafkovsky aside and said to him, listen, Slav, we didn't draft you to be Jack Hughes. Now, Jack Hughes does things that unfortunately you'll never be able to do. And guess what? You do some things that he doesn't do either. We drafted you to be Slav. So if you're going to continue trying to play like Jack Hughes, we drafted the wrong guy.
Ken, you said that to Slafkovsky?
That's what he told him.
Snake?
Yeah.
That you have that clip?
Yes.
When is that running?
It's running tomorrow
morning.
But I heard that clip.
Yeah.
Wow.
I heard that clip. That's what he told him.
Wow. Okay, so you don't say that to somebody unless you're not happy with what they're doing.
Well,
That's a pretty clear indication you want more and you want a different focus than you're getting from that player.
I listen, I can tell you that Slav he has not been unanimous with the management team this year, where there have been a couple occasions where there have been a few things that they don't like. And when the general manager, like you just said, Brian, comes out and is open about it and says that, and you got to love his honesty. Like I love that about Kent Hughes, and God love him. But it's there's some frustration there from everyone right now.
Can I make a point about why you went public with that? Okay,
Yeah.
So everything is contemplated seriously at that level, right? There are no accidents. It's no like, oops, Snake made me say something I didn't want to say. Like that doesn't happen. He goes in with a plan. He wants the public to know. He puts it with a trusted voice. He puts it on a long podcast that he knows that there's a big message to make too. But the bottom line of what he's doing there is he's saying, I tried to say that to you, Slav, and it didn't take. And now I need the pressure of the city on you for this to take. I need everybody to know, so you feel the additional eyes on you, that you will hear my message and react to my message. He would have liked to have kept that private, but he wasn't getting the response that he wanted. So more pressure is put on him to get the response he wants, to not be Jack Hughes, but to be Juraj Slafkovsky. That's my take on that.
Yeah,
You agree,
it makes a lot of sense because Kent Hughes basically is very cerebral.
Yes.
And whatever he says, he knows what he's saying.
Yep.
Correct.
He's not a loose cannon at all.
No,
That's
he's,
right.
He's a lawyer.
Yeah.
When
exactly.
he talks, it's for a reason.
There's a big picture. When he says something, there's a big picture. It's not an accidental. If you want to be loyal, get a dog. There's a big picture.
Correct.
But the thing that was hard for it, that is kind of like disappointing, is that the Habs rarely get the number one overall pick. I think the last time they did before 2022 was 1980. And had there been a Celebrini available, it would have been, or a Jack Hughes, it would have been such an easy choice. And I remember on draft night, I remember saying or writing that in that kind of draft, the percentage of the percentage of risk of not choosing the best player was very, very high, because there was no consensus player. Of course, everybody was talking about Shane Wright, but I think he had dropped, and the proof is he was picked number 4. So it's not like he was the consensus and the Canadian passed on him, and then New Jersey jumped on him and they were so happy. So I think, they were put in a very, very difficult situation. And the important thing is that the Habs get a player that fits well in their lineup for the next 10, 12 years, and that the guy performs in the playoffs and he fits, the role that he's going to have. But comparing the 2022 draft with, the 2024 draft in terms of number 1 pick, you can't expect Slafkovsky to make do what Celebrini's going to do and probably get 90 or 100 points.
You know, guys, in Slafkovsky's first season with the Canadiens in 2022-2023, he played 39 games, and his season was cut short due to injury. He had 10 points. Shane Wright played 8 games in the National Hockey League and then went down to play 8 games in the American Hockey League. And you remember, he also played 20 games in the OHL with Windsor. The following season, Slafkovsky had a great season last year, 82 games, 20 goals, 30 assists, 50 points. His second half was amazing. Shane Wright played 8 games in the National Hockey League and went down to play another 59 in the American Hockey League. And a lot of people were saying, look, Canadiens definitely made the right choice, right? Because Shane Wright was playing in the OHL. He's playing 67 games in the American Hockey League, and Slafkovsky has never gone down to play in Laval. At one point, we were having that discussion. Should Slafkovsky go down to Laval in the first half of the season last year? And then Kent Hughes gave us his reason why he wasn't sending him down. And it was kind of like, you know, if you're uncomfortable driving on the highway, do you get off to only drive on the service road? Or do you continue to drive on the highway and whatever happens, and that's how you're going to become a better driver? Anyway, I thought it was interesting. What am I getting at? No one's talking about this right now, but Shane Wright's playing better hockey than Slafkovsky is this year. They have the same points. Slafkovsky's has done it in 8 less games. Shane Wright has more goals than Slafkovsky. He's got more goals. And I like your points, Snake, because you're one of those guys that wants to, let's rebuild one more year because there's this guy who's amazing. Let's rebuild one more year because there's this guy who's amazing. Let's rebuild one more year. And even though I mock you for it, I understand the concept because a lot of teams do it because, unfortunately, many times when they draft, there's no generational talent, and sometimes there's not even a franchise player. There's just good players. Yeah. So, for example, when the Canadiens drafted Galchenyuk 3rd, even though they could have drafted Morgan Rielly 5th or Philip Forsberg 11th, who was drafted 11th, whatever, it was not a good draft. Exactly. When they drafted Kotkaniemi 3rd, and even though they should have drafted Brady Tkachuk 3rd or Quinn Hughes 7th, it was not a slam dunk draft either. You know, the Canadiens just never seem to have that first pick when there is a McKinnon or a Connor McDavid or a Sidney Crosby or whatever. Having said that, Snake, they probably got their steal with Demidov at 5.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. They took advantage of the fact that Columbus basically, I don't know. I don't have words for what Columbus.
It's not even. He's got a back injury still, and he went in with a back injury.
You know what?
I never understood the pick.
I can understand Anaheim going for Seneca. I love Seneca. I would have picked Demidov, but I can understand the reasoning. The Blackhawks, they need offense. They pick another defenseman, a guy who's not even like a franchise defenseman. That's hardly defendable. So the Habs got lucky. So I think it compensates for the fact that they weren't lucky in 2022 picking number 1 in a draft where there was no generational player.
I'm going to make you guys.
It needs to be added if you look at that. The whole, like, if you run down the list, Tony, I don't know how fast you can call it up, but I mean, that draft in the COVID year, I mean, nobody has really shone. Like, Cooley is starting to shine.
Yeah.
Cooley's he's starting to get it. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's like, I think if you redraft, he's won. And you look at Cutter Gauthier, he's just getting started, but I think he's going to be a great pro. And if I did a redraft, I think I might put Cutter Gauthier at 2 after putting Cooley at 1. Even though Gauthier has only, a very small sample size of games at the NHL level.
But he's improving.
The decision isn't made at 20. The decision is made at 25. So, and because of COVID, they had tough seasons Training was off and on, fewer games. It was a real hard year to even be number one compared to most. You didn't even have a full sample size.
Yeah.
The sample size on Slafkovsky was so small, they took the Olympics and the World Championships more than they actually took his play in Finland.
Yeah. And he was very hard to judge in Finland because I remember watching his games, and he was sort of like, he was a 17-year-old playing in this Liga league, and I don't know, he wasn't really a great fit, so it was very hard to judge his play. And so, yeah, you look at the Olympics, but the Olympics was not like a great tournament because the NHL players weren't there. My God, it was so tough to evaluate these guys.
Yeah. No, but Brian, if I can add, if you're going to take Logan Cooley at number one, and by the way, I love Logan Cooley.
I may have forgotten somebody.
Well, you did, Lane Hudson.
Oh, yeah. I did forget Lane Hudson.
Lane Hudson.
I would take Cooley.
I don't know.
I would take Cooley.
No, but what I'm saying is if you do that draft all over again today,
well,
Lane,
you know what?
You're taking Lane Hudson top 3 based on what we've seen, right?
Right.
Based
so
on
maybe just tell fans they took Lane Hudson at 1. See if you can make everybody forget. Because, that's the draft sometimes. Like everybody always says to me, they don't need more seconds. They don't need more thirds. You're only allowed 50 contracts. How many picks can you have? And then somebody says as the rebuttal, well, they got Lane Hudson at 62. And I'm like, that's not math. But yeah, that did happen. The second round star lands only 4% of the time. But yeah, Lane Hudson. So
Brian, once again, watch out for that. Kent Hughes with Matthias Brunet and Snake Boisvert tomorrow on their podcast, Processus, 52 minutes with the Montreal Canadiens general manager. That's pretty cool. Okay. Let's move on. So the Suzuki line is slumping. Slafkovsky, we don't like that stat of 70 shots in 51 games. Brian got it right. You got to average 4 shots per game.
3 or 4. Maybe I was a bit high at 4, but 3 or 4 for sure.
Let's just say 3. It gives you
and
a much
even
better
at
chance
lower
of
leagues,
success.
8. Cole Caulfield averaged 8 shots a game in Wisconsin.
Yeah. So now let's put the cards on the table. The Canadiens went into the season with a lack of depth, a team that was rebuilding. To make the playoffs, you have to add to that depth, and then everyone has to stand on their head and play above and beyond.
Yeah.
Suzuki and Caulfield can only win you so many games. Montembeault and or Dobish can only win you so many games. The Habs power play can only win you so many games. And sometimes even when all of that is going, they still need help. Imagine when it's not going. When it's not going, they need their second line. They don't have a second line. The Canadiens' second line has probably played what, guys? Let's put the cards on the table here right now. Out of 54 games the Canadiens have played, how many good games has their second line had out of 54 games?
I don't know, 10, 15 max?
Max 14 out of 54? That's not a good number.
10 to 15 max, yeah. That's
not
good.
They have 31 goals total as a second line all year. I have that in front of me, but that also includes, because it's impossible to do this with taking 5-on-5. So that includes Laine's, 10 power play goals. So even though they're 24th in the league, 25th in the league with that total of 31 goals, it's really actually the worst line in the league, 5-on-5, second line, like the worst.
Shane Gaumont on Master Control. Let's bring up those stats again that I had written of Slafkovsky, Dach, and Laine. Okay. Guys, Kirby Dach, 54 games, 22 points. He's minus 27. He's 40.6% in the faceoff circle this year. Once again, he's young. He's 24 years old, and he's played 266 games in the National Hockey League in the regular season. It's 275 if you add the playoffs. And if you think of an NHL season being 82 games, that's 246 over 3 seasons. So he's played an equivalent of 3.5 seasons over a span of 6.5 seasons. I'm going to tell you this. He can still change because some guys finally get it at 26. They finally get it at 27. I've been of the opinion, and it took me a couple of games to watch him play, that I don't think Kirby Dach is a top 6 center iceman. So I don't think he's a top 2 line center iceman on a team that has aspirations to be very competitive. I don't like his 200-foot game. I don't like him in the face-off circle. I don't like his playmaking ability. I don't like his reads. I don't like his vision. I don't like his implication. There's a lot of things I don't like. There are things I do like. I like the fact that he's 6'4". I like the fact that he's 220. I like the fact that he's got a long reach. I like the fact that he's got long strides. I like the fact that he's got a pretty good wrist shot. I like the fact when he plays with freedom, when he plays where he doesn't have to think and the game becomes somewhat a game of pond hockey, I like him. He's free. He's not thinking. He's playing. I like him. That's not being a center iceman, guys. That's right. And look, I don't know what more he has to do or not do to prove it to people that right now he's failing the center test. But last night on the third goal, which for me was the backbreaker 15 seconds into period number 3, that was not only disappointing, that was unacceptable. His lack of effort along the boards to be stripped of that puck and just lose that battle, but lose it without battling, that's unacceptable, guys.
But Tony, this is a guy who was always evaluated in terms of projection. He was a junior player. I remember watching him, and it was always very tantalizing. It was like, oh, if he, but he never really produced. And he gets to Chicago. He's a nice presence on the ice, big guy. And you're thinking, wow, when this guy's going to be 22, 23, he's going to be a monster. But he does not become that monster. And he's 24 now. And I think we have to accept that he is who he is and not base it on the fact that, oh, well, this guy panned out at 26. Yes, some guys will pan out at 26, but let's play the odds here. Let's go with probabilities. Chances are he is who he is. And like you say, Tony, he's a third line guy.
I think
and there's a reason why Chicago let him go. They were doing a rebuild. I know they were like basically trading everybody, but the guy was like 21 years old. If you're rebuilding, I think you're going to keep your 21-year-old players.
I think the point that I would make the most is that defensively, he is not showing that he has a 200-foot game at all. And the projection next year is you're going to have Demidov, and yes, he's going to be a superstar eventually, but where he'll probably lack in the beginning is a little bit of defensive acumen. And then you got Laine on the other side, who frankly, 5-on-5 is not a very good hockey player. You have to have 5-on-5. I mean, he's got a great shot, power play, amazing. We all know that, but 5-on-5, not a good player. So if you're going to have on the left side or one side, you're going to have Laine, who's not great, 5-on-5. And on the other side, you got a raw rookie. In the middle, you have to have a centerman with a 200-foot game. I've only seen Owen Beck in the last 2 nights look better than Kirby Dach 5-on-5 playing the wing. He's playing the wing and he's covering for guys better.
Yeah.
On his line.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at Beck and going, I don't know what Beck can bring offensively, but he might be a better player for those two guys to take advantage of their miscues defensively. And he could be a guy who would fill in the role that they're not good at, cover for them like Suzuki covers right now for his guys. That line has to have a 200-foot guy, or that line's going to be in trouble, even with Demidov on it defensively. Dach is minus 27 in the league, as you showed. That's the worst number in the entire NHL. If they want to have success next season, there's no way he can be the second-line center. Not a chance.
I think they're going to have to break up the first line if you want Demidov to have good players playing with him.
Or acquire someone.
Or
wait for Michael H.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kevin Weeks in the last couple of days here, let's see if we can bring it up. In speaking to sources, I'm told there's been plenty of expressions of interest from clubs in Buffalo forward Dylan Cozens, including the Canadiens, the Flames, the Maple Leafs, and the Red Wings. So guys, if the Montreal Canadiens are interested in Dylan Cozens,
Yes.
who is the same age as Kirby Dach, who is in the same draft class as Kirby Dach. Dach went 3rd and Cozens went 7th. Who's also a 6'3" right-handed centerman. But whose contract, unlike Dach's, which comes to an end at the end of next season, is for another 5 years after this season at $7.1 million. If the Canadiens are interested, guys, it's because the determination has been made by the duo that Brian Wilde calls Hughes and Gorton, that they need a second-line centerman next year, guys.
100%.
Can I pick him up at the airport?
Yeah, can I go with you?
I
you
love
and I together. I'll go to Timmy's. We'll get us some coffee and we'll pick him up.
You know what, guys? If you want to go, you can go. But I'll have my buddy Johnny Antonacci, Alante Limousine, go with you guys. Bring you guys, chauffeur, limo, everything. I'll take care of it. But hold on a second.
But seriously, yes.
But does that mean so? You are both the presidents of the Dylan Cozens fan club? Yeah,
100%. This outlier this year, he's a little low and off in his numbers compared to last. This is what happens when you're frustrated sometimes that you're on a lousy team yet again, and you can have a fallback, but the player that he was with the big numbers is the player you would get if he became a Montreal Canadien. He has a hungry game. He has a more complete game than Dach. He's and you look at even the numbers at draft year. I mean, Dach did not actually put in really good numbers in his draft year. It's shocking when you look at it, because then you go, you drafted 3rd with those.
It was all about projection.
It was all about projection and size and everything, and maybe a pretty good skating stride. But I mean, Cozens, like through and through, has been a better player, from draft year right on to even this year. It's an off year for him, and he's still better than Dach.
And totally agree with you guys on everything.
And I'm not worried about the contract at all.
Okay, now, but without knowing this is what I think Buffalo would ask for.
Okay.
If Buffalo wanted forwards, obviously, let's get it out of the way. There's some forwards the Canadiens are not going to trade, which would be Suzuki and Caulfield. Let's get that out of the way right away. And let's just say the Canadiens make Lane Hudson untouchable as well. All right? Buffalo, I would be willing to bet, would want either of Caden Gooley, a young defenseman, first rounder, who's locked up for 6 years starting next year at $5.5 million. First or second pairing, logs on average about 21 minutes per game. A Jacob Fowler, a Michael Hage, and maybe, if he's not an untouchable for the Canadiens, a Juraj Slafkovsky. Either one of these players, I think Buffalo would like to have in return. What I'm saying is, for all of you who are saying, let's do Kirby Dach and a 4th-round pick for Dylan, it's not happening, okay? Because if we see that Dach doesn't cut it as a centerman, chances are the Sabres see it too.
Yeah.
So, who would you give up? Would you give up any of those guys that I just brought up? Any of them for Dylan Cozens?
Are we certain that they're not interested in about a 7 pick overall?
Oh, you would. So if the Canadiens finish bottom 7, 8, you would trade that pick for Dylan Cozens.
I would, yeah.
Yeah. So would I.
I would. Like, they want to expedite this now. They got a taste of it. They were the best team in the NHL for 15 games, and I think they believe in the rebuild, and they believe in the speed of the rebuild. They think Demidov's going to make a big difference. They think Hage the following year is going to make a big difference. They're confident. They're a confident group. When I listen to
with the
Gordon,
Buffalo Sabres, who over the next couple of years here are going to battle for a playoff spot with the Canadiens, would they take their second-line centerman after Tage Thompson and just hand them to the Canadiens on a silver platter?
I'm not worried about that part. I think that part is overblown all the time. If you want to have a good team, you can't worry that just because they're in the same division. There are 16 teams you're fighting with. You're not going to trade with half of the damn league? That makes no sense to me. I don't know why people talk about that.
Yeah, I understand.
It's half a league.
It's a myth. I think it's a myth. Because
it's half a league.
If you're satisfied with the return, you don't trust the player you trade anymore,
100%. Then you're happy he goes to them. You don't like him. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a myth. It's stupid too, because it's 15 other teams.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like if it was like the Champions League last year, and there were only 3 other teams you were fighting with.
Yeah.
In soccer, okay, yeah, I get it. But you're saying we're not going to trade with 15 teams? No way. No way. And the only thing is, like I talked about the first rounder, I'm not sure if Buffalo would go that, because then that says to their fan base again, it's been 14 years since we made the playoffs, and we're putting this back another couple of years.
A fourth rebuild.
Exactly. So I'm not sure if my thought of a 7th overall, because that's what he went, and maybe if they're frustrated with him, and if he's on the block, they must be slightly frustrated with him, right? Or these rumors wouldn't be so strong. So maybe they would go for it. But I am hearing what you said, Tony, a little bit more, that they want already an established player, so they don't tell their fan base we're starting over again.
Yeah. Now, technically, I think it would probably be like 19, because there's 16 in one conference, 16 in the other, and there's 3 that are going to get in a particular division, because there's 4 divisions that you're not going to be part of that division. But anyway, I totally understand your point. I get it now.
Right, but when you're picking the wild card, Tony, you're using the whole using the whole conference. Right?
You're right about that. But here's something though. As good as Dylan Cozens is, and I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, I think we all agree that he's an upgrade on Casey Middlestat, and he's got a higher ceiling. Would we agree on that? Yeah.
I like him. Middlestat. Yeah.
Okay. So Casey Middlestat's a couple of years older. Colorado was hoping he was going to be their second line centerman, but he never played to his potential.
No, never.
Colorado acquired him for Bowen Byram from the Buffalo Sabres. He's on the block, supposedly. He makes $5.75 million for another 2 years after this year. If the price to pay is less, and the trade is probably easier to pull off because you would be dealing with a Western Conference team, are you not better off, if you're the Canadiens, trying to go and get that player, even if you like him less, so that you have a buffer for 2 years, and it gives a guy like Michael Hage a couple of years to probably try and make it to the National Hockey? But then again, even when he does, how long is it going to take for him to get off and start running, right?
It depends on the price to pay. I wouldn't give an established player like I would, let's say, for Dylan Cozens. I mean, because obviously you might be filling a hole, but then you probably create a hole elsewhere, and then in 2 years, I mean, you lose Middlestat, you replace him with Hage. Look, only if I can get him for very little.
You know what? I think Buffalo would do that deal that you talked about. The Canadiens' first-round pick in 2025 for Dylan Cozens.
Yeah,
I think the Buffalo Sabres would do that deal.
But I would be very reluctant to trade the first pick if Caleb Desnoyers is still around when the Habs picked. But I don't think he'll be there.
You like him that much? Huh?
Now?
I like him that much. Yeah.
He's 8th ranked now? Ish?
Look, yeah, ish. 6, 7, 5, 6, 7. So I'm not sure he's going to be there. And you know what? Moncton is probably going to go very far in the playoffs. They might go to the Memorial Cup. If he has a good Memorial Cup tournament in front of all these scouts on national television, he's going to be a top 5 pick.
I don't do the Middlestat deal.
Me neither.
I don't care what the deal is, unless it's super cheap, like a second rounder or something. But
exactly.
That's not going to happen.
A second rounder. Yeah.
But that's not going to happen. So it's a discussion that you're just saying, well, we don't value the player enough for how you value the player, and it's not going to happen. And I don't think you should ever say to yourself, let's take the second guy. You got to take the guy you want, or don't do it. I mean, and Kent Hughes has been great at that in terms of saying, this is the guy I want. I'm going to target that guy. I'm going to get that guy. I'm not saying he's always been right, but he hasn't had an attitude where or a game plan where he said, we'll take the second best guy.
So, folks, the wild card in the East looks like this as of right now. The Ottawa Senators hold on to the first wild card spot. Tampa Bay has jumped into the 3rd spot in the Atlantic, by the way, if you're wondering. They have the same amount of points as Ottawa, but they have 2 games in hand, and that's why they're there. Ottawa's got the first wild card spot. Detroit has the second wild card spot. And then on the outside are Columbus, Boston, New York Islanders, Rangers, Montreal Canadiens. Canadiens are 6 points out, 6 points behind Detroit, 7 points behind Ottawa. Guys, it's there's two ways that you can look at this thing. You can look at it and say the Canadiens are in the mix. They're 6 points out of a wild card spot. Or you can look at it and say the Montreal Canadiens are 6 points ahead of fifth last. So, are they closer to fifth last, or are they closer to jumping up and getting a wild card spot? So, guys, my question to you is, are the Montreal Canadiens closer to fifth last or a wild card? But never mind how they're playing in the last 7, just how they are as a team. You say fifth last, the Snake?
Yeah.
You've always
that's
been,
how they're trending. But that's how they're trending, Tony.
Yeah, they're for sure they're trending. But I would ask this question a month ago.
For example, Tony, they need to go in the last part of the season here. They need to go to make the playoffs, which is expected and right now prorated to 93 points. They need to go 19-10. They're having a hard time going 1-0. Where does 19-10 come from?
Yeah,
right? It's not gonna happen.
So for you guys, you don't have to. We don't have to wait this weekend for them to win. Try and win their 2 games to 6. So you think they're done?
They have to catch 5 teams.
So listen to this.
That makes it harder.
So you ready for this? If I'm Kent Hughes and I'm watching them, and my opinion is the same as your opinion, and I think we're done. You know what I'm doing? I'm getting on the phone. I'm getting on the phone, and I'm trading my guys whose contract is up. And I'm thinking about holding on to Jake Evans. But those guys, like Armia, like David Savard, if there's a market, like Christian Dvorak, I'm trading them. Now, having said that, I believe that if you're going to get nothing for Savard or Little, you might as well keep him, give him a 1-year deal, and try and bring him back as a 7 next year, because I think he's a good team guy. But if I think we're done, I'm going to try and get rid of NHL players to make my team weaker so that organically we're worse.
Of course. What do you think Mike Greer has been doing?
That's exactly what Mike Greer did.
Mike Greer
traded his exactly. Michael Granlund, a top 2C.
Well, you bastard.
And Cody Ceci, a first pairing defenseman. Why? Because he wants Matthew Schaefer. That's why.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Or
James
Higgins. Yeah.
Yeah. He likes the American kids too. He likes the American kids. So.
No, but they might not pick number 1. That's what happens because of the lottery. Yeah.
Yeah. So who are you trading? Jake Evans, let's talk about him. Have you made up your mind whether you're keeping him or not? And if so, at what price?
Out. Goodbye.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Does it matter what we're talking here?
Bye-bye.
So Owen Beck's your guy?
Yeah.
Well, as Pierre Maguire said, Owen Beck's going to be replacing Christian Dvorak.
Yeah.
Well, who's going to replace Jake Evans? Yeah. Mozitumo. Yeah. Mozitumo. Yeah.
We'll see on July 1st. And like we said, next year is a transition year before they make the moves in the summer of 2026. To me, it's the summer of 2026.
They're going to have a lot of money that they can use to
$50 million in 2026.
They're going to have a lot of money. The center position is the least established on the team right now.
Yeah.
Dvorak's not going to get an offer. Beck, I think, has shown that he's going to be a good NHLer, like better than people think he's going to be. But what I would do, I like the way Armia is playing. Obviously, shorthanded, he and Evans are excellent. I like the way Evans is playing. If I were a general manager, I would walk up to the agents of those 2 players and say, listen, we're going to trade you if we can't sign this before March 7th. If you want to stay here, I'd love you to stay here. And here's the offer, and we got to do it before March 7th. because I can't have it open before the trading deadline and after the trading deadline because I got to get something for you.
Yeah.
Because I got 22 games that don't mean anything.
When you're out of the playoffs, it is criminal to lose a UFA for nothing.
Yeah, but hold on a second. Look, I love Owen Beck. Brian's right. Playing in a different position, you can already tell he's more responsible defensively and a better centerman than a guy like Dach and all that stuff. He's going to be a very good player in the National Hockey League for a long time. He's a player. He's very cerebral, okay?
Yeah.
But we have to be honest here, right? Because history has shown us that every time we set the bar real high for a player right away, too much too soon, it usually doesn't happen. Let's put the cards on the table. Owen Beck is good, and he's going to be good. Mm-hmm. He's not going to be able to do what Jake Evans does right now, at least for another 3 years. Come on, let's be honest here.
That. Oh, no, I'm disagreeing with that completely.
Oh, really?
I disagree because Evans really had a career half season. You know,
but never mind the points, though. I mean, he's on in every situation. Up a goal at the end of the first, he's on. At the end of the second, he's on. At the end of the third, he's on.
But he's still a bottom
face off, he's on. Penalty kill, he's on.
Yeah, but he's still a bottom six player. Let's face it. There's a lot of Jake Evans around the NHL.
But so is Beck. You don't think? You think Beck's going to be a second line centerman in the NHL?
Of course not. Bottom six player.
Yeah,
but a good one.
And you don't have to give up a lot to get a bottom six player.
No.
Like everyone's like, who else is going to play center? I don't know. Give up a 4th round draft pick or pay somebody $3 million. It's not hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like like I told you, I've been doing a lot of homework on the 3rd and 4th lines. There's 4th liners that got like the entire 4th line is 11 goals on some teams.
Yeah.
There's not much talent there.
Are the Montreal Canadiens?
Evans is good, but let's not call him Wayne Gretzky here. You know, he's having a career year. He made what did he go like 65 games to have a goal last year? You know, like let's relax just a little bit. He's doing great, but
last year he was probably worth a 3rd round pick at best.
Yeah.
So now if his value is gone
first,
in his,
you think somebody will throw a first?
Pardon me?
Do you think somebody will throw a first for Jake Evans?
You know what? Maybe a month ago. Now I'm not sure anymore.
Yeah.
Could it be a second? Could it be a second in the prospect?
New Jersey called last week, Snake.
Okay.
And I could tell you that with certainty.
And they're willing to give up their first.
I don't know what they're willing to give up. I can tell you with certainty that New Jersey called last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the information that I've been given.
If you get a first, you run with it.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Because 90% of the stars in the NHL are first round picks.
And Cody CC for the Sharks to get a first. So if you get a first for Evans, just drive him to the airport.
Are the Montreal Canadiens going to make the playoffs, or are they going to be a bottom 5 team again? Go all the way with Betway and get a free bet up to $200. If your first bet loses, scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. I also want to give a shout out, if I can, to Fruiterie de Lard, a family-run business. Hello to Tasso, his son, and their staff. A mainstay in the Ville-LaSalle community, a hop, skip, and a jump away from my house since 1995, and I've been going there since 1995. They continue to offer the same fresh foods and flavors they have for the past 30 years. From fresh fruits, I picked up some figs, a case of figs last week, God love them, and produce delivered daily to an ever-expanding assortment of deli meats. That would be my prosciutto parma, mortadella, Sardiniella, and capicola fottina dolce. Of deli meats, cheeses, and sandwiches, you'll find personalized service and friendly faces that make you feel like family. Once again, Fruiterie de Lard on Rue de Lard in Ville-LaSalle. All right, let's bring up that sheet one more time. Patrik Laine. Somebody posted on YouTube Live earlier, I'm more worried about Laine than I am about Slafkovsky, or I'm more worried about Laine than I am about Dach. And personally, I am not, because I know there's so much that we love about him. But this is Patrik Laine. Patrik Laine is a guy that in Anaheim was nowhere to be found. His effort on the back check was piss poor. His coach was upset about it. He limited him to one shift, 32 seconds in period number 3. He was asked about it at the end of the game, and he said, well, I just went with my guys who gave me a chance to win, and I think he did. Patrik Laine was okay the game after in San Jose. He was better, but okay. And last night, he was terrible again. He looks like that smile that he had on his face when he arrived back on the 2nd of December is gone. In 26 games, guys, he has his points. I think he's got like 18 points, 12 of which are goals. But 5v5, he only has 2 goals and 5 assists. And they need him to score 5v5. He has to score 5v5. Guys, I'm less worried about Laine than I am about the other guys because I think it's already pretty clear to me, unless next year Laine and Demidov are on a line and they're magical. I think it's become pretty clear to me that Patrik Laine, the Canadiens were hoping they were going to get a player inspired who was once again going to be playing in Canada. It's become pretty clear to me that Patrik Laine doesn't fit in the culture of what they're trying to have here. And I don't think, a coach who wants to win games and wants to rely on players, I don't think he's a kind of player that you can rely on. You saw it in the ice time yesterday. He had less of any forward on the team. I'm not overly worried about Patrik Laine because I think next year, by the end of his deal, I think that'll be it with the Canadiens. Unless, once again, something magical happens.
Well, look,
I think it's too early. Go ahead.
He might go on another streak, another goal-scoring streak on the power play. And then we'll all be excited again, full of hope. But I think at some point, I think Laine over the last few years has a track record of being overall disappointing. And there's a reason why Columbus just gave him away. And yeah, it was fun. He was fun to watch at the beginning. Look, let's see what happens next year. And let's see how much money he's going to ask for. I mean, a Laine power play specialist that, I don't know, I'm just saying anything, $3 million is not the same guy as a Laine at 8.7. But I tend to agree with you from what we see now, with the information we have now. It seems to me like he's a goner.
But listen to this, though, okay? AZ says on YouTube Live, well, that's not much of a bold statement, Tony. But Anto says, Jesus, Tony, this guy's going to score 30 to 35 next year, right? And you know what? He might, but look,
yeah,
we all knew that Patrik Laine, you got to take the good with the bad. He might score you 30 goals, but he might end up being minus 20. And he might score you 30 goals, but he might end up only having 30 good games in a season.
Yeah.
And he's
going Mike Hoffman, let's say.
And he's going to drive you crazy for 40 or 50, right? We all know you have to take the good with the bad, but his effort has to be a lot more consistent or else it's going to end badly. Brian?
Yeah, the way I feel, I think we're being a little too negative on this one. I think that we're finding a guy that right now is part and parcel of what's happening on his line. I mean, he's not a puck carrier through the neutral zone. He's a guy who needs support from his centerman and a winger who can distribute to find any success. So, like, if we put everything just on Laine, I think it's too strong because I'm pretty sure if he were playing with Mark Scheifele still in Winnipeg,
you're right.
I think he'd be doing okay.
You're right.
Like Dach doesn't care. Nobody is doing the work. Like Laine doesn't do the first 3 parts of a goal. He's
Correct.
not F1. He doesn't go get the puck. He's not a good forechecker. He doesn't do the pass part. He only does the shoot part.
We're hoping Laine could be the driver of the bus when he's never been.
He's not. He's never been a driver.
Because
right?
I remember seeing him last year.
If he gets some support.
I remember seeing him last year with Columbus. And Johnny Gaudreau was doing everything. But Laine was there. He scored a few goals. He played very little, just 18 games, I think, but he scored a few goals. But I clearly remember seeing him in the offensive zone with Goudreau, and he was just like you say, he was not a bus driver, but he was a pretty good passenger.
Right, I'll be over here shooting, so just get it to me, and then the amazing shot. Like, I don't think you can ever give up on a guy that's not getting an opportunity right now to unleash that amazing shot, because that's all he can do, and the line is not set up to do that. And now if you look at the way they're playing him on the power play, you basically got a guy standing in front of him. So if Cole Caulfield doesn't start taking advantage of that ice because the defender's standing in front of Laine on the power play, then the power play, you've noticed, has gotten bad because Laine's being covered and Caulfield doesn't feel comfortable where he is to excel. So they've got to figure that out. And when they do, when another target starts to excel, the Laine target will open up again. That's the way power plays work. If you only got one weapon, you don't succeed.
And when Demidov arrives, Demidov is going to attract traffic. He's going to attract. Demidov kind of plays the game a little bit like Lane Hudson plays it. He attracts players to him.
That's right.
And it opens up space for other players. And Laine is going to benefit from Demidov being in the lineup. You're right. But, guys, a lot of it comes down to professional pride, personal pride, and heart. And Laine has a talent that Dach doesn't have. As a matter of fact, he's got a talent that probably nobody on the Montreal Canadiens has but Cole Caulfield. But if this guy wanted to, he could be so good. But he has that thing that Kovalev used to have and that Richer used to have and other players have had in the past. And that is, for 3 weeks, you think that he is in the elite of the National Hockey League. You think he's a superstar.
Yeah.
And then for a month, you say, where the hell is he? And those players, a lot of teams just don't want to put up with it. And maybe some do because, they say, okay, on one player, you got to close your eyes. But if you're trying to build a culture that you want everyone to work hard, this whole thing, I can't wait next year, this whole thing, the way it can go. Because Laine could either be unbelievable for Demidov and vice versa, or the Canadians might look at Laine and look and say, you know what, Demidov can't have this guy as an example. It's going to go one of two ways.
If Patrik Laine gets a centerman that can carry the puck up the ice, distribute well, basically a Demidov style of player, a guy who opens up ice and makes people come to him, I think he can have an excellent season, and I'm not down on his work ethic either. I just think he looks like kind of a lazy player. He's got that big loping stride. It doesn't really look like, but I think he's very frustrated right now, and he's frustrated because he cares. People that aren't frustrated are the ones that scare me, because those are the ones that don't care. You understand what I'm saying? When a guy's frustrated, it means he's pissed. I want guys that are pissed.
Okay,
and he's pissed.
So now this goes against some of the things I believe in, because he's been mailing it in often in the last 6 or 7 games, and he was terrible in 2 of the last 3. So this goes against my better judgment, but the Canadiens have lost 6 of their last 7, and the first line isn't working. Desperate times calls for desperate measures sometimes. Why don't you just put Laine with Suzuki and Caulfield this weekend and see if you can find a spark? What do you have to lose?
Nothing.
We were saying already, we think the season's probably over even before this weekend happens. What do you have to lose? Have they tried Laine with Suzuki yet this season?
No, I don't.
No,
I don't
they
think
have not.
No.
So if he is your best natural sniper on the team, and Suzuki's your best playmaker, wouldn't it make sense that at one point they should play together?
Yeah.
So just
how many shots has Laine taken? Tony, how many shots has Laine taken?
I'll find that for you in the next minute.
Yeah, do like a game-by-game log so we can just see like when he was hot, how many shots he was taking, and when he slowed down. Because I think the biggest problem is, because he's a sniper, but a sniper needs a gun, and then the gun needs to have bullets in it, and then you need to have somebody to pass it to you, or nothing's going to happen. So I agree. I think it's a good idea because Suzuki will distribute to him.
And usually these guys, they have a 15-16% average.
So he's
a great
got
shooter, yeah.
Yeah.
So he averages about 2.5 shots per game. I haven't gone into the games where he's shooting more, but he has 62 shots in 26 games.
Okay.
Yeah,
62 shots
yeah,
in 26 games.
And 12 goals.
And he's got 12 goals.
So that's what, 19 point something percent.
19.4% shooting percentage.
Right.
He plays.
And you're looking for 3.
And he plays
per
on
game.
average 15 minutes per game, 15:02.
Yeah. But in the last 7 games, how many shots does he have? I bet you it's not 2.7 per.
I'll ask Shane Gilmore on Master Control if he can bring that up so I can.
Right, because that's what it feels like. And yeah, I like it. I think it's a great idea because with Suzuki, you'll have him distributing. That's what he needs. He needs somebody to distribute to him. Dach is not distributing to him. It's as simple as that. You're playing a lot of the game in his own zone. He's not good in his own zone. When that line's out, you're like, okay, 45 seconds of pressure. Let's see how this goes. What defensive pairing did they put him with? Hope Gary is out there.
So if it doesn't work, they'll lose the 2 games. And by the way, New Jersey is going to be pretty upset because they lost tonight versus Vegas. Tampa Bay is going to be coming in on Sunday. They beat the Ottawa Senators tonight 5-1. 4 shots in the last 5 games for Patrik Laine. 4 shots in the last 5 games.
Not 2.5.
So here's the deal. If they lose this weekend, a lot of people expect them to lose this weekend. What if they find magic together and they win both games? You come back after the Four Nations tourney. You got them together again. Who knows? Maybe they continue to fight. It could turn around a season that a lot of people think is already lost. Yeah.
I'll say this. If they win both, like I told you, to make 93 points, they need to go 19-10. If they win both this weekend, then they need to go 17-10. 17-10 in their last 27 is not impossible. They had 2 11-game stretches where they went 7-4 and 8-3.
Brian,
Basically,
how are they going to go 17-10 if they have a hard time going 1-0?
Well, like I said, they won both the games this weekend, and they got a spark, and then they come out maybe a little bit more rested.
You know, I'm teasing
you have to also. No, I know, but you got to look at. There are scenarios where, like, I was on this show and I predicted this. You know, I said they're exhausted. You can see they're an exhausted team. They have absolutely no jump. The last time they showed jump was the first period against the Toronto Maple Leafs. That was October 14th. And since then, they've been just a tired team. I think they come out of the break. They've only got the Finns even playing in the tournament. They're going to be a rested bunch. Their strength of schedule is the 29th, or actually now it's the 31st hardest strength of, easiest strength of schedule. So they're playing a bunch of weak teams. If they can win this weekend, then go 17-10, which is not impossible. It's a challenge, but you know, not impossible.
Guys,
and don't forget all the teams in front of them who are going to be playing each other.
And
sometimes in
the hard part.
games. Yeah,
guys, give me a Super Bowl score on the weekend.
Oh,
Chiefs or Eagles, Brian?
I'm going to take the Eagles.
Wow.
I'm going to take the Eagles. The Chiefs have been winning a ton of games by less than one-score games, they call it. And I think their one-score game runs out of luck.
I mean, the way they won games this year, I mean,
the
Chiefs haters must have been pulling their hair off all season long. All these last,
you got to take on the refs too.
Yeah. Also, I think the Eagles have a better roster, but it's very hard to predict because of, I don't know. There's some kind of there's something over the Chiefs. I don't know what it is.
Aura.
Yeah.
Tomorrow afternoon, I give a special sick podcast show where we talk Canadians, but it's in French on Fridays at 2 p.m. And joining me will be Gilbert Delorme and Jeremy Filosa tomorrow to talk Montreal Canadiens.
Nice to see Jeremy.
Gilbert Delorme and Jeremy Filosa. And Matt O'Hayan will be in tomorrow night, of course, with the Sick Podcast at the regular time, which is weeknights at 10 p.m. I want to thank all of our sponsors. I want to thank Energy Transportation Group. I want to thank Bittt Tibi. I want to thank Playground, Fruiterie Dillard, Betway, and our brand new sponsor. I want to welcome them, Bomboloni Boss, bomboloniboss.com. Pick up your Bombolonis, the football ones, this weekend for Super Bowl. Delivery or pickup option in Saint Laurent. You must order between now and February 8th before 5 p.m. Gentlemen, Brian Wilde, Global TV Montreal, Simon Snake Boisvert, contributor on BPM Sports, and from the podcast Processus on la Commission Athlétique, coming out tomorrow on YouTube with Mathias Brunet and Montreal Canadiens General Manager Kent Hughes, a 52-minute conversation that you don't want to miss. Gentlemen, have a great night. Merci.
Merci.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. A special thanks to Shane Gaumont on Master Control. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaBita.tb, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.